Good morning. Welcome to today's meeting on the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 legislative session. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Carter.
Present.
De Silva.
Here.
DeLong.
Present.
Edgeworth.
Here.
Flanagan. Gallant.
Here.
Golding.
Here.
Gurr.
Here.
Hunt.
Here.
Jackson. Karras.
Here.
Kasama.
Here.
Nguyen.
Here.
Chair Considine.
I am here, and please mark Assembly Member Flanagan here as she's here. Welcome to the audience in Carson City, those joining by video conference in Las Vegas, and those listening over the internet. I would like to begin with some housekeeping measures. Please take a moment and check your electronic devices. Make sure that they are on silent. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to our committee secretary. When testifying, please turn the microphone on and clearly state your name and any affiliation for the record, and turn the microphone off each time you are done speaking. If you are providing handouts, please ensure that hard copies are available for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted to our committee manager by 9 a.m. yesterday for our committee members. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. I encourage committee members to ask questions, engage with the material presented. If you have any follow-up questions, please flag them for me so we can ensure we balance our time effectively during the meetings. And committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts, look at exhibits, and other documents. Please do not interpret this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. And today we will be hearing two bills. First, we will hear Assembly Bill 392, which revises provisions relating to interlocal agreements and contracts with tribal governments, followed by AB 418, which revises provisions relating to animals. To ensure we get through everyone fairly and in a timely manner, we will set a 20-minute time limit for each period of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having up to 2 minutes. And let's get started. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 392. To present this measure, we have Assembly Member Carter, and please go ahead when you are ready.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen, and members of the Government Affairs Committee. I'm Max Carter, Assembly District 12, and I'm going to ask my co-presenters to introduce themselves, starting with Will and working back towards me, if that's okay.
Hello, I'm Will Adler, Principal of Silver State Government Relations, and proud to be here.
I'm Brian Mason. I'm the chairman of the Shoshone-Paiute Tribes of the Duck Valley Indian Reservation.
Good morning, Chair and Committee. My name is Andrea Martinez. I am a former chairman of the Walker River Paiute Tribe and tribal citizen of the Walker River Paiute Tribe in Schurz, Nevada.
Thank you very much. This is Max Carter. For the record, good morning. I'm presenting Bill 392, which revises provisions relating to interlocal agreements and contracts with tribal governments. A little bit of background. Cooperative agreements are critical to the functioning of the state. We know that working to benefit Nevadans does not happen in a vacuum. However, we also know that not all parties are always considered equitably when making such agreements, nor are agreements always beneficial for all involved. I'm specifically referring to our tribal governments. According to the United States Attorney's Office, Nevada is home to 28 federally recognized tribes, bands, and communities, and it is essential that we work to prioritize, strengthen, and protect relationships with all 28. We know that relationships between governmental entities and tribal governments have been historically fraught, often characterized by extremely unequal power dynamics, secrecy and deception, and an emphasis on assimilation and division. We are still working to correct these historical inequities and breaches of trust, which is why we must carefully craft and monitor future agreements with certain protections. This is what we are seeking to do with AB 392. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to former Chair Martinez to basically give us some background and explanation of why this is important.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Andrea Martinez, Andrea Martinez. I am the former chairman and tribal citizen of the Walker River Paiute Tribe located in Schurz, Nevada. I am here to express my strong support in AB 392, a bill that revises provisions related to interlocal agreements and contracts between tribal governments and public agencies. Through my tenure, I have witnessed the profound impact that cooperative action between tribal governments and public agencies can have on our communities. These agreements are vital for ensuring the safety and well-being of our citizens, particularly in rural Nevada, where resources can be limited. However, I have also seen instances of negligence and inaction that can undermine these important partnerships. AB 392 is crucial for tribal governments seeking to establish and maintain effective agreements with surrounding agencies, regardless of the leadership in place. This bill would enhance the ability of tribal governments to collaborate with county agencies, ensuring that cooperation and protection for all citizens of Nevada remain a priority, no matter who holds the decision-making power. Moreover, as a former law enforcement officer, I have observed firsthand how these agreements are essential for our law enforcement agencies, both on and off the reservation. They help navigate complex jurisdictional issues and facilitate necessary assistance, ultimately fostering safer communities for everyone. I want to thank Max Carter for carrying AB 392 and urge all members to support this important legislation. Together we can strengthen the relationships between tribal governments, public agencies, and ensuring a brighter future for all Nevadans.
Thank you. And with the chair's permission, I'll turn it over to Will Adler to walk through the bill and Chairman Mason to give some comments and explanations of why we're here. Thank you.
Hello, Will Adler for the record with Silver State Government Relations representing Duck Valley and Pyramid Lake Paiute tribes in this scenario. Just generally, I wanted to thank Senator Max Carter for bringing this bill forward. I wanted to just briefly go through the bill, which is essentially Section 1. But I just want to point out a few things that this is not maybe a new concept or even a new ability in law, but we did want to encourage these programs to actually foster or be generated between county governments specifically and tribal governments. For the record, these do go on today and now and actually are pretty productive when it comes to interlocal agreements, when it comes to law enforcement, EMS, or even shared law enforcement agreements like housing of detainees or prisoners of some kind. Tribal governments already have these arrangements in some scenarios, but not all. And then a lot of it is the lack of governmental heft when it comes to the tribal side of this to actually get these agreements done. There's a lot of misunderstandings and kind of hardships when it comes to the information sharing, but having this sort of in NRS, we feel like would support the concept of encouraging these and having these, show up more frequently across Nevada. But the most important thing is just going through the whole of the bill. If you look at Section 1, the shall line that I want to point out is there is no mandate here, but it is there shall, on behalf of a county or agency, therefore, engage in good faith discussions with the tribal government for the performance of such services. Literally, we only want the mandation of having that open door and having that first good conversation, because that really is the preventive barrier with a lot of these conversations, is the understanding that this is possible, or the understanding that, tribal governments need support too, and it isn't all on the federal government. It is usually some bout of interlocal, because whether it's tribal or rural Nevada, we're all out there kind of in the sticks, and there isn't a lot of support no matter who you are, be it police, fire, or just medical services. So I want to thank Max Carter again for bringing this bill forward. As you see going through Section 1, it just sort of lays out some general parameters that I think are similar to the ones that Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe has when it comes to their law enforcement agreement. So I sort of took that as the guidelines for this, but I did want to see this encouraged in NRS and sort of shown that this isn't, a mandate, but this is a mandate of having that open hand and a good discussion. Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing this bill. And if you could, Chair Mason wanted to just share some stories about what it's actually like having a lack of security in law enforcement and what it could be if something like this could be produced across tribal and county relations. Thank you.
For the record, Brian Mason, I'm the chairman of the Shoshone Paiute Tribes for the Shoshone Paiute Duck Valley Indian Reservation. So once again, I know a lot of you faces being sitting in this chair testifying on different issues. So it's almost like buckle up because you're about ready to be very embarrassed and very upset. And I'm going to walk through some things. So it's very complicated because some of the tribes are self-governance tribes and some are not self-governant tribes. And self-governant tribes basically in 1993 in the state of Nevada, and there's a bunch of them throughout the United States. I can't remember how many in the state of Nevada are self-governance, but what that did was these tribes took most of the responsibilities from the BIA and contracted it and took care of it, of the things that they wanted to. Duck Valley is a self-governance tribe, but we did not contract law enforcement or road maintenance out. So those are the two things that the BIA provides for us, law enforcement and roads. Some of the tribes that are not self-governance may have their own law enforcement, such as for a while the Tamok tribe did. I'm not sure of some of the situation of other tribes, but some of them have their own policing force, which is, within their constitution. But we left that in the BIA's hand. And so what that does is it kind of limits a tribe's ability to provide something as simple as public safety. So in northern Nevada and northeastern Nevada, there's various, and there was mentioned that there's 28 tribes in the state, and all of them are different as far as needs, assets, what kind of things that they can bring to the safety of their community. Ours is unique that, and you're all aware of this as we've gone through different things, but the remoteness, right? So we're 97 miles north and through a windy canyon road for any kind of response. So there is such a shortage in BIA policing, and that's where we get all of our law enforcement, that I've spoken with legislators on the federal level, both of our state senators, the two state senators in the state of Idaho, because our situation got to a point where and it's current right now, we have two officers that cover from the Idaho border, which is Duck Valley, all the way down to Elko, and their 4 bands of the Tamok tribe, all the way to the Goshute tribe, which is partially in Utah, all the way to McDermott, 2 officers. And this has happened when we've had a shooting or a violent crime or something that is severe public safety issue. And we'll just use we had a suicide murder, and then 3 houses down, we actually had a kidnapping at gunpoint. And the response was in Elko. So that's 2 hours right there just to get somebody there to respond. School was letting out, so we had a bunch of kids that were going to be getting off the bus in the neighborhood. So we literally had to go as council members, firefighters, to kind of prevent, we didn't respond with arms, but we did have to respond as some kind of deterrent to make sure that all the kids, they turned it around, they assembled in the school, that they were taken care of until we could get an officer. And we had 1 officer arrive, and this was not the active kidnapping incident. Well, the officer arrived, but he couldn't do anything because he didn't have any backup. So we had to wait for additional time for backup to get there before they can even attempt to make entry into the house. So, if we had some type of, MOU with the surrounding communities, we do in Idaho. We have an agreement. Our BIA officers are deputized in the state of Idaho. We just don't have it on the Nevada side. We don't know where the response is going to come from. And for us, we don't really care. We just want, the most timely response that we can absolutely get. So when you're in a community and, you know, law enforcement and safety is 2 hours away, that kind of weighs on you as one of your most important things that you have to deal with as a tribal leader. And there's not a lot of options. And, you know, part of the thing that I approached the senators on, and it was kind of an embarrassing topic, because, you know, our BIA officers, our officers, our law enforcement are federal agents. And there's just a limited amount of them. You know, nobody, you know, law enforcement is not a career that a lot of people are pursuing. And the BIA, just like any other municipality, we're so short officers that, you know, we just couldn't get any. They just won't, they're not there. So, you know, I approached the two senators, Senator Cortez Masto and Senator Rosen, and I'm sure you're familiar with the term, but I was going to go to the United Nations and request Blue Hatters. So Blue Hatters are peacekeeping forces that the UN provides because we can't get any law enforcement. And, you know, we didn't do it because Senator Cortez Masto is presented, you know, on the federal level, the same issue that we're dealing with, you know, because everybody's dealing with it. The Montana senator, he's no longer the senator, but he had the same situation on all the large Montana tribes, and they were going through the same thing. So there is a federal bill that is trying to take care of some of this stuff. But, you know, the main thing is there is definitely a need, and it is an important bill. And I think it's something that the state of Nevada, dealing with all 28 tribes, they're all going to have a unique problem, but they all lack, you know, adequate law enforcement. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair Mason. This is Max Carter. For the record, and to just sum up before we go into questions, this does not mandate agreements. What it does is it says if an agreement's put in place, there's two big rubs here, and that's what we're trying to fix. It's a rub when we ask a tribal entity to surrender their sovereignty. And two, the counties are worried and have experienced, not all the time, but built up grievances and financial obligations. That's what this does. It makes both parties respect each other's first tribal sovereignty and then responsibility to live up to your commitments from both sides in these interlocal agreements. And with that, we're open for questions, Chair.
Okay, committee members, please let me know if you have questions. We will start with Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for bringing this bill. I think it's a good bill. And Chairman Mason, it's good to see you. Congratulations on being elected chairman. So I really have two questions. The first one is just, can you explain what in page 2, line 38, last word going on to the next page, organized segment of a tribe. What is that getting at as far as a governmental body?
Hello, Will Adler for the record. There's tribal governments, and then there's subdivided tribal governments that go over a larger geographic area. So for the one in this town, specifically, Washoe Band or Washoe Tribe actually has a Carson City colony, one down in Douglas County, and then one over two over in California side of the map, and then one on the north side of the Lake Tahoe, actually. So it's 5 separated governmental entities, all identified as the Washoe Tribe, right? So that's the closest regional one. Similar things happen in Elko with sort of subdivided territorial or geographic separations of sort of the same peoples. With the Tomoke, yeah.
The Tomoke.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. My second question, it just has to do with the time frames. And I just wanted to understand why you picked 90 days. A quarter of the year seems like a pretty long time. If there's basically a contractual disagreement, 90 days seems like a very long time. Is there a specific reason you picked 90 days?
Because of the glacial pace that all too often local and county governments move. This is to where nothing's a knee-jerk reaction, that it gives both sides time to straighten things out, rather than yep, we're mad, we're going to terminate the agreement. Bit of a cooling off period, but also an acknowledgement that things don't move very rapidly in state and local governments.
Thank you.
Will Adler, for the record. I have another answer for that question too. Tribal governments often get a lot of their payments and repayments through the federal processes, and previously this has happened with the well, I won't speak what tribal community, what county, but because the federal government had a delayed fight with with final payments or actually getting the budget funded federally, some of the tribal payments were delayed for police services and things, unbeknownst to the tribe, out of their control, but the local government actually extended their period. So I think we got to 90 days at a county level for that reason. So I think a good buffer period of good faith is kind of needed sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
I believe DeLon kind of touched on my question, but, and so did you, Will, because I was wondering if 90 days was long enough. But it's, because it seems that if there's a situation going on and the tribal community is already strained, that may put undue hardship, specifically regarding the outstanding payment for like an outstanding debt. That was really the portion of it that concerned me. And then since it's kind of out there, if I may ask or tie an additional question to it in terms of the 97 miles and the distance, how much would this shrink the time that you're waiting for a response, just to kind of get that on the record of what impact this could have for you?
Yeah, Brian Mason for the record. It allows them to actually at least respond because right now, we're just in such a unique situation because it's Bureau of Indian Affairs, law enforcement, federal officers. When something happens in Oahe, which is, quite the distance, when they call 911, it goes to Utah. It goes to Fort Duchesne, Utah for dispatch. And then they contact another agency and then the officer's dispatched. So, even an MOU that ropes in, even the communication for the emergency service is desperately needed. And, I don't know all the ins and outs about BIA law enforcement. Our support comes out of the Phoenix office. But, when Jane Doe that lives on X lane and calls and says someone's breaking into my house and it goes to Utah, we can do better. So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chairman Mason. When I read this in preparation for today's meeting, my question was really why. So thank you for providing that good explanation of what's going on. Is under current law, are you prohibited from entering into this kind of agreement? I'm wondering, I'm trying to wrap my mind around, is this new enabling language?
Max Carter for the record. What this does is, interlocal agreements are perfectly fine right now. A lot of the tribes have them. What this is addressing is the rubs on both sides. That the tribal entities don't like when a government entity comes in and tells them, in order for us to have an agreement with you, you have to surrender part of your tribal sovereignty. And the local governments, whether it's justified or not, talk about delinquent pay and not living up to the contract on the other side. So this just takes and sets those boundaries to take and protect both sides. That's what this is trying to do.
If I may add something also, Brian Mason for the record, each of the tribes are going to be different because we're all sovereign tribes, right? So one tribe may want to enter into agreement one way and another tribe another way, as long as they stay within the parameters of the actual bill. I said that we have an agreement with the state of Idaho, and they're cross-deputized in the state of Idaho. Historically, and I wish our we have a senior statesman that's on council, that's been on council since the 80s. And at a time, there was this in place with Elko County. I mean, we had an agreement with Elko County. And quite frankly, the sheriff used to live in Mountain City, which is the town right outside the reservation line. So these have been in place before. I just think that it's bringing to the point where there is actually a need again for them. But I remember a time when there was an agreement with Elko County and the Sheriff's Department, and I don't know if that was just because he happened to live in Mountain City, but there was that. But in general, tribes retain that right, that sovereign, that treaty status. That federal agents are the law enforcement for an Indian reservation. Agreements with local enforcement is out of survival necessity and safety. So,
Thank you for that clarification.
Also, Andrea Martinez, for the record, I'd like to add, leadership always changes on every level and in public agencies and tribal government. Sometimes, dependent on who is in those positions, is dependent on what MOUs get acknowledged or not.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. I have two, if I might, hopefully quick. One is, I'm just wondering about the contract that you enter into. So each tribe, they'll just negotiate their own rate with the local police force, is that correct?
Max Carter, for the record, yes, that's exactly correct. And it equates to the interlocal agreements that we're more familiar with, like between Clark County and Henderson and North Las Vegas and Clark County. They're not the same. They're negotiated separately. And just like that, the tribal entities and the different local government entities may have different concerns. So there's not a pattern. They're not all the same.
Oops, thank you. Could I have one more question? And then my other question is, let's use Elko as an example again. So if an incident happens in Elko and the tribes there have entered into an agreement with the Elko Sheriff's Department, could you still have a choice if by chance a Bureau of Indian Affairs federal officer happens to be in Elko, because you said there's only two and they're wandering all around, could you have a choice which one you would ask to respond if one happened to be close? Would you have coverage from both? I guess maybe that's the right question.
okay, Brian Mason for the record. I don't have that answer. I don't know what the answer is. There's obviously something in the agreement that dictates that. I'm not even sure. So Elko is part of Tomoke. I don't know what kind. I know some of them are tribal enforcement, law enforcement, and some of them are BIA. And they're right in town, right? Something similar to Reno Sparks. I'm sure they have some type of agreement, and I would maybe defer to Elko folks that maybe have some familiarity with what kind of law enforcement agreement that Elko Colony has. All the colonies, the colonies that are within the city limits, Ely is one, Winnemucca, Battle Mountain. I mean, I think that's what I'm saying, that they're all unique. I mean, obviously the bill gives the particular tribe, the option or the, at least the leeway to do it, enter into an agreement, for the safety of their people. But they're all going to be different animals, I think. I mean, ours is going to be unique, just like Walker Rivers is going to be unique.
Max Carter, for the record, yes, typically they emphasize, these agreements emphasize the most rapid response when there's crisis. Doesn't necessarily have to, but that's the main goal of this, is getting faster response to emergency situations.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Gurr.
Thank you, Chair. I can't really speak with firsthand knowledge, but I know in town that it is a first responder, just like you said, Assemblyman Carter. It's going to be the first nearest person that can get there. I know that the tribal police and the BIA both respond to incidents to help local police, and the NHP is what I call them, but I think they go by the Nevada State Police now officially. And I know that like you stated, Chairman, we had a deputy station in Mountain City for years, but then the population base in Mountain City's gone, the store's gone, the bar's gone, and manpower with everything else. I think the bill's good. I think we ought to do it, and everybody's going to structure it around their local agreement. My question, when I get to it, instead of speechifying, is as with everything we do in this building, there's unintended consequences when we do this. Have you guys reviewed any unintended consequences to the tribes themselves? Or what could come out of this bill?
So I will tell you, Max Carter for the record. So the unintended consequences are mitigated first by, we worked hard at identifying the problem and kept it focused on the problem, but also the fact that it doesn't mandate. So it gives freedom to not be in it also. We're not trying to create a mandate. That's where we're trying to mitigate the unintended consequences.
If I might, Chair. Thank you for that. I realized after you guys have gone through this that you've done a lot of thought and a lot of participation. The whole idea behind this bill is more enforcement, quicker response, helping the public, no matter whose public it is. So I appreciate your interest. Thank you.
Will Adler for the record, and just briefly, I do think this could actually help with tribal government sustaining these agreements. If we do have them in NRS and cited, and we do have the structure around them, as spoken to briefly, these agreements could be ended on either side of the county or the tribal line. And frankly, in looking at the history of these, it frequently is the tribal government that does sort of come in and say, hey, why do we have this? And or we're no longer happy with it. But if we have more structure to them, I think the sustainability of these will be better. And as you said, first responders are first responders. We will take whoever's there for a crisis. And thank you for seeing that.
Our next question is from Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for bringing this bill forward. And Chairman Mason, it's always an honor to have you here in the legislature. My question really is about the parameters of these interlocal compacts. So the bill is pretty much saying that from this moment forward, this will be some of the new sort of parameter structures that will be at place between these agreements. Are there any retroactive effects of this bill? Thank you.
Max Carter for the record, no, this is proactive, not reactive.
Are there any other questions from the committee members? I have one. On page 2, and you've already sort of talked about it, under section 1, so that engaging is, so shall engage in discussions in good faith. So it's not requiring or mandating anything except for engaging in good faith discussions. And because there's a shall there, is there any, what happens if they don't? Is there any penalty? Because we do have a shall, and I just don't see anything in here. Is it just good faith that that shall will be sufficient?
Will Adler for the record. We do have a history of bills like this that do sort of say, you know, a county shall, and whether it be a siren or other things, we did have to come back before. But speaking to representatives of county governments and or just that we already have some of these agreements in place, I just wanted to make it clear that counties shall have a good faith discussion when approached by a tribal government, because today and now a lot of tribes don't understand that is already kind of in place. Counties want to be there to help the citizens of a county, be it county property or a tribe within that county. That the holistic nature of county governance is to help all. So I do think this just is to say, if you are approached by a tribal government, you shall have a good faith conversation with them. And if they're not getting that, for the record, please call Will Adler and I will help you get a better conversation with any county government. But I do think this should be sufficient to sort of guide the path. But that is the mandate, is have a good conversation. But once you do so, here's what an agreement would look like. And that sort of creates a lot of clarity where there's some ethereal misunderstandings today, I think. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, and thank you for the presentation. We would like to now move on to testimony on the bill. Testimony can be provided in person here in Carson City, via video conference in Las Vegas, or over the phone. Further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. I would like to begin testimony today here in Carson City in person. If you would like to testify in support of AB 392 in Carson City, please step forward. Seeing no one, we'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas? There actually is no one in Las Vegas. So we'll go to AVH. AVH, is there anyone on the line in support of AB 392?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no callers in support of Assembly Bill 392.
Thank you. We will move on to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to AB 392 here in Carson City? Seeing no one and still no one in Las Vegas, AVH, we're back to you for opposition on AB 392.
The public line is open and working. We have no callers for opposition of Assembly Bill 392.
Okay, we'll move to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on AB 392? Seeing no one walk into the room in Las Vegas, AVH, we're back to you on neutral.
The public line is open and working. We have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. Would the sponsors like to? No, they will not. Okay, thank you so much, and I will close the hearing on 392. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 418, which revises provisions relating to animals. To present this measure, we have Assembly Members Hardy and Hibbets, and please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair and members of the most studious Committee on Government Affairs. For the record, I am Brian Hibbets, honored to represent Assembly District 13. I am presenting Assembly Bill 418, which revises provisions relating to animals. Our work in this building is dedicated to the betterment of Nevada and its citizens. We work to prioritize their needs and address aspects of Nevada law that will have a positive impact on their lives. Importantly, though, we sometimes need to extend that work beyond just the people of Nevada to also focus on those who are not able to speak for themselves or on their own behalf. We must also direct our efforts to ensuring the well-being and safekeeping of the animals in this state, which is my intent with AB 418. Now, Chair, with your permission, I'd like to turn it over to my co-presenter to tell you how we got here.
Good morning, Chair Considine and members of the Government Affairs Committee. I'm Melissa Hardy, and I'm the Assemblywoman representing District 22. As my colleague mentioned, one of the things when we present a bill that we like to do, if we can, is share the story of where the legislation came from. So last summer, I was contacted by a constituent, and that he shared with me a very heartbreaking story of what happened to his dog that was taken to a local groomer. She suffered some trauma, some mishandling when she was in distress there, and she later, the dog passed away. In Las Vegas, I have that constituent is there, and if she could come up to the table, I would like her to just share the story herself. So we'll just give her a minute. But that's where this came from, was a constituent experience. And I'm sure that it's happened before. And so we just felt the need to bring this legislation to protect those that don't have a voice, that are living beings. And so I will turn it over now to Ms. Jensen in Las Vegas.
Good morning.
Please go ahead, state your name.
My name is Janine Jensen. What do I say? I guess I'll just tell you what happened to my dog. Saturday, June the 22nd, I dropped off 3 of my dogs for a 10 o'clock appointment for grooming. 3 hours later, when I picked my dogs up, only Lucky and Chico were brought out to me, and I saw someone open a door to their dryer room and bring out Daisy. She was coughing and having a hard time breathing, and I asked what happened to Daisy. Their reply was, "Oh, she's been barking." When I got into the car, I put the seat belts on my dogs, and I noticed that Daisy's tongue was turning dark purple. She was panting and moving all over the back seat. She was losing control of her bladder and her bowels. She was spitting up from her mouth. I immediately called you, and I called the grooming and said that Daisy can't breathe, and I was taking her to the animal hospital. The only remark from them was telling me that they were sorry. Green Valley Animal Hospital was waiting for me, and they took Daisy back into the emergency room immediately. All the attempts were made to help her breathe. In their oxygen tent, her temperature was 108 degrees and it climbed to 109. The veterinarian told me that Daisy may have complications with her brain, her eyesight, not being able to control her bladder and bowels, and be a normal dog from no oxygen that long. Sunday, the next day, we made arrangements to see our girl, Daisy. She was still struggling to breathe and coughing, so the doctor put her back in the oxygen tent so there'd be less stress. The veterinarian said her trachea was collapsed, her lungs were filling with fluid. We were told the oxygen gave her a little relief. We made the final decision to put her to sleep and to cross over the Rainbow Bridge. This was the worst decision that we had to make because she was only 5 to 6 years old, happy, playful, and healthy dog. She didn't like cages very long, so would bark. If only they had used some common sense and taken her out of a cage, put her on a leash so that she could watch the other dogs being groomed, or better yet, have called me to come pick her up. She died with a collapsed trachea, probably from a collar used too tight around her neck while grooming and heat exhaustion. She was a member of our family and she didn't deserve this. I just feel that these groomers need some type of training. I understand that anyone can put a sign up, dog grooming, and have a business, so thank you.
Melissa Hardy, for the record, thank you for being here today and sharing your story. I know how hard that was for you and Mark, so we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And I will now turn it over to my colleague to go through the bill.
Thank you. Brian Hibbets for the record. Specifically, AB 418 requires each governing body of a county or incorporated city to adopt an ordinance requiring, with certain exceptions, the owner or operator of a kennel, an animal rescue organization, or a commercial establishment engaged in the business of handling animals to complete a training course on handling animals. This course will be prescribed by that governing body. The bill further requires the ordinance to prescribe the manner in which such entities complete the required training course and renews it biennially. So that's the legalese way of saying what we want is we want people that engage in the custody of animals to have training in how to recognize medical distress and what to do about it when they see it. In closing, our animals are family. We should endeavor to provide all animals across the state, whether in our homes or in kennels and rescue organizations, the love and care they deserve. I urge you to support this measure, and I thank you for your consideration. We are now happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Our committee questions will begin with Assembly Member Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I'm wondering why you decided to put it on the cities and the counties to establish to the requirement instead of just baking it into the statute. This is the requirement. Seems like a burden on cities and counties to have to create the requirement, create the ordinance when a statewide standard might be more effective and less burdensome on local municipalities.
Brian Hibbets for the record. Thank you for the question. This NRA, or this bill, was actually designed based on a Clark County ordinance that was recently passed. And we didn't want to be, the big bad state coming down and say, here's what you're going to do. We wanted to leave it to the local municipalities because that is the lowest level of elected official, so that they can be responsive to their particular constituents.
Melissa Hardy for the record. And just to add on to that, we always, when we do legislation, there's a balance there of being too prescriptive, and then, not having things in statute that if something changes, like if we were to prescribe a certain course or something like that, then we would have to come back later if that course wasn't available. We're also, but we have been, meeting with stakeholders and talking about addressing your specific question, because what we want is that the training is, what they're getting is basically CPR, first aid type of certification in handling animals. So that's the goal, that, people aren't getting just some random course or whatever, but that they are getting a recognized certified course in first aid and animal handling. So, but we're happy to work on this language to fine tune it so that the intent that we're seeking happens.
Thank you. Can you build out a little bit how you see enforcement would happen?
Again, so what we would like is, I know the Clark County ordinance does require that the training would be, kept in the business, so that if someone wanted to see it, that, it is there that they did receive the training. So that would be something in my mind that I would like to add to this. As far as the enforcement piece, again, happy to explore that more. Again, we don't want to be too punishing on businesses, have too high of fines or anything like that. But yes, absolutely, we would be open to talking about how that would be enforced.
And that was Assemblymember Hardy for the record. No worries. No worries. Our next question is from Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Assembly members, for bringing this bill. I think it's a great bill that uplifts, some of the least among us, our animal friends and family. So my question really is the training. How will we go about ensuring that the training is solid, that it's coming from, established sources? Will this be through nonprofits or through animal control or certain other divisions within the local government? So how does that play out? Thank you.
Brian Hibbets for the record. Thank you for the question, Assemblyman. In researching this, I wanted to make sure, number one, that the training actually existed first, and it does. There are numerous nationally recognized agencies and organizations that offer this training. You can go to a community college and get this training, as they offer it as part of their vet tech certification, as most of the community colleges offer it as a standalone course. If you wanted to go that route, there are online places, there are places you can go in person other than colleges. And there are many places that offer this training for free, just simply because they want people to have it. And again, we want to leave it up to the municipalities for the flexibility of it. But of course, we are also and we are working with the different municipalities to try to get to that sweet spot, if you will, between prescribing what they have to do without being too onerous. And so we are currently working on that at the moment.
Melissa Hardy for the record. Yeah, the intent isn't to make this burdensome on any municipality. It's just, we don't expect them to create a course, or that's not what we're saying. As Assemblyman Hibbets mentioned, there are online certifications for this. I happened to look this morning. The Red Cross offers them. there's a course in Henderson actually next month that's in person that you can do this. So, it would just, again, the standard would be that it is a recognized certified CPR first aid training for those that handle animals.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Just wondering, I know that the loss of even one pet is devastating for someone because they are members of our families. But I'm wondering, when you were putting this together, was there any statistical data showing how often this happens, or just what?
Melissa Hardy, for the record. No, I didn't specifically research any data. Just, this incident, and then there was I think 2 or 3 other people had reached out and mentioned to me that, oh yeah, that had happened to an animal of theirs or someone that they knew while they were at the groomer. And so, again, those of us that have pets and love them and take them somewhere and place them in someone's care, you think that you trust that they know what they're doing and your pet's going to be safe there. And then when something happens like this, it's devastating. We just want to try to prevent that and, do what we can at a minimum to give some reassurance, I guess, and confidence to the public that their pets are going to be safe.
Thank you. Chair, may I have a follow-up, please? In this space, is there anything you can share on where you see cost in terms of how the training is provided, or if there's cost, who pays for it, what that type of cost looks like?
Melissa Hardy, for the record. Again, as my colleague mentioned, I think the Red Cross, that was less than $20 to do that. The course that was in person that I mentioned, that was I think $70. Obviously, if you're going to go to a community college and get some type of vet assistant or tech program, that's going to be more. So it varies. He did mention there were some that were free. So I think it's a wide variety. And again, that it's just, we don't want to require that you have to go get an associate's degree to, work in a groomer, but that you're just getting that basic first aid CPR.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, thanks for bringing this bill forward. I probably utilize a breeder more so, or a groomer more so than anybody else in this building with 4 standard poodles. But so I do have a couple questions, and I just want to make sure, because it looks, maybe I might be reading this wrong. So in terms of this, anybody who's handling animals for equine would be exempt from this, but anybody who's handling non-equine animals would be included in this. And I see veterinarian on that list. And so I guess I'm a little confused. Are we going to be making veterinarians go through? Okay, because I think they've got plenty of education in terms of that, correct?
Brian Hibbets, for the record, that's correct. It does not apply to a veterinarian.
Okay.
And that is specifically for the reason you stated, is because they're doctors.
Yes, exactly. Okay, because I'm why would we make them do that? Okay, thank you. So I appreciate that. And then in terms of dog trainers, that is not listed on this, but it does say without limitation, right? So it could be extended. And then in terms of dog trainers and groomers, there's no actual state licensing. So, and not that I'm asking for it because I'm, okay, barrier of entry, but, and maybe the municipalities, I know we have Ms. Jacob here about how you would essentially enforce that within those types of business licenses, and how that would work in a practical level. If you don't mind. Is that okay? Can we phone a friend?
Brian Hibbets, for the record, it was her ordinance we base this on, so I'm going to make her answer this one.
Okay, good morning, Chair Considine, members of the committee, Joanna Jacob, Clark County, for the record. I had a feeling I was maybe going to have to come up. So we just passed our ordinance in right as I was heading up here to the legislature. So it was the first board meeting in February. So we're ready now to start implementing, but the intent is, as it's been discussed here, that it's going to be tied, the requirement for the training that we have in our ordinance is going to be tied to your business license, your local business license. So before you can renew or apply for your business license for this type of category of service, that you would have to show evidence of completing the training. We, Clark County, and I'm not saying everybody needs to do this because there are options that have been discussed here, but because it's an important issue for our board, Clark County is developing a training that we're going to provide free of service for everybody who's doing this. It's going to take us a while to develop it. So our ordinance was passed in February, but the way that it was structured is that within 18 months, we're going to create the training, publicize the training, right, and make it available to the public. And that's, so the language in here about the manner in which the Board of County Commissioners or the City Council can prescribe how to do the training, I think is good language. It gives everybody the flexibility to do that. And that's where I said, okay, we've already passed this ordinance. So I was planning on coming up in neutral today because I was like, we've passed the ordinance and I think we can make our ordinance fit the language of this bill. And that would be our intent, is that we're going to create our own. So it's tied to your business license. And so it'd be like the checklist of documents that you would have to provide when you apply for or renew your business license.
And so are dog trainers included in your, well, it's part, it was actually, I asked during it, but it wasn't clarified.
Joanna Jacob, for the record, I think, I can't remember I was just looking at the ordinance, and I have to probably follow up with you, Assemblymember Gallant, if that's okay. I think that I think we tried to capture a broad category of businesses that were providing services to animals, right? Because the heat, especially in Southern Nevada, the heat impacts are severe. So I think, Assemblyman Hibbets just handed me something, but I can certainly follow up with you afterwards or the committee if you would like to see how we define it in the ordinance. Yep, okay. Follow up, Chair, if you could, because Assemblyman Hibbets just pointed, this is from my ordinance, which it says, Joanna Jacob, for the record, Jacob, no S. I think it does apply to any establishment which sells, grooms, trains, board animals, so trainers are included. Thank you, Assemblyman Hibbets. I know, thank you.
Brian Hibbets, for the record, just for clarification for the record, that is the Clark County ordinance, not the proposed NRS.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Karras.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I think everyone in the state is concerned about animal safety, especially with the things that have occurred in the past year. But these things happen all the time, so I love that something like this is coming forward. My question sort of was touched on. I love the fact that some municipalities may provide this for free, because I was concerned with the impact on these businesses for how much it's going to cost for training. I'm not quite sure I get the leaning towards CPR end rather than the handling end, because you wouldn't have to revive some pet getting groomed if you hadn't already mistreated it. So maybe a little heavier on the training on handling. My question is this, though, and maybe since there's going to be in the future free courses, but maybe not everywhere in the state, my thought was rather than a handling / CPR training, which could impact the employees and the business owners, has there been any thought to having cameras where you could watch? Because if the owner has training, but they're not always there because they're a business owner, they may have more businesses, they may be busy. is there any thought at all to having cameras in these places so that there's actual evidence of what's going on with your dog? Because I know that's a great inhibitor to bad behavior on human part.
Brian Hibbets for the record. That issue did not come up during the discussions for this bill. I do know that there are many places, specifically Borders, I don't know about groomers, that offer free live streaming so you can watch your four-legged friend have a better time than you. But that issue did not come up in our discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Next question is from Assemblymember Hunt.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you guys for the presentation. My question is, how long, have you guys thought about how long the required training course would be before they actually get their certification?
Brian Hibbets for the record. Based on the way the current language is written, that would be left up to the municipality. Because again, we don't want to be too onerous on the individual municipalities. We don't want to say, well, you have to have 4 hours and I honestly haven't looked at the course specifically when 2 hours would work. It is currently left up to the municipality.
Thank you. And our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick follow-up, building off of Assemblymember Karas's question and a point in the ordinance that states that the owner or operator of the business that handles the animals is the one to receive the training. To her point that they're not always there, is there consideration of extending this to the people who actually handle the animals? Because I realize we're creating a point of accountability with this legislation, but we're not necessarily addressing the issue that causes the animals to have the problem, which is whoever in all of these businesses is actually providing the service to that animal on that day.
Brian Hibbets for the record. And that's a great point. If you look at this like other industries, you have the owner may own 2, 3, 4 different grooming places, let's say. And obviously they can't be everywhere. I would look at it as a key employee for each individual location. There should be somebody on site when they're during operating hours that has this training, and that would be my intent.
So follow-up, Chair. Can I have a follow-up, Chair?
Go ahead.
So for the record, not everyone who works, but someone is trained, as opposed to if you work in a pet grooming related business, you require this training to work in this business at this point.
Melissa Hardy for the record. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, right? It's if whoever's there physically in charge of and supervising or handling the animals should have some training. And so, again, we're open to fine-tuning that or, how we can address that because, you're correct. Like when we owned our business, we weren't always there. So those employees had to have, food certified training and health cards and all that kind of. So we're definitely open to working that.
Brian Hibbets for the record. In a perfect world, yes, I would like every single employee to absolutely have this training, but we also don't want to be too burdensome on the business itself. There is turnover. So if every time you hire somebody, you've got to go, okay, well, now you got to go to your class. We don't want to put that much of a burden on the business. But again, we are also leaving it up to the municipality to say, let's pick one. Sparks may say, you know what, if you're going to work here, you're going to have this training. Whereas Reno may say, okay, we just want somebody on site that has this training.
Thank you. I do have a question, and I may have missed it, but I keep looking at the language of the bill. We seem to be talking about household pets, dogs, cats, but I don't necessarily see that restriction in the bill, especially when it's animal rescue organizations. If it's exotic pets, if it's reptiles, if it's lion habitats, does this cover everyone, or is this supposed to just be household pets?
Brian Hibbets for the record. Chair, if I understand your question correctly, you're looking at the Section 1, subsection 3, no, I'm sorry, section,
Well, I was looking at Section 1, subsection 1. Each Board of County, let's see, line 5, requiring the owner or operator of a kennel, an animal rescue organization, or a commercial establishment engaged in the business of handling animals, including without limitation a breeder, a cattery, a retailer, a pet groomer, or a dealer, to complete a training course. So I just wanted to, since I didn't see, let's say that I have exotic animals and I'm bringing them in. Does it cover any type of animal, or is I guess I'm just trying to figure out if this includes like really exotic animals, or if it's a rescue organization that rescues lions or llamas or any type of animal?
Brian Hibbets for the record, and for the record, llamas are cute. The intent is household pets, not the, and we're actually currently in discussions with one of the stakeholders for rescue organizations that specifically deal with providing shelter for the pets of domestic violence, sexual assault, sex trafficking, people that are trying to get out of those situations and need a place for their animals. Because that was never the intent, to have, people trying to help other people have to fall under onerous regulation. But no, the intent is household pets, not, I know down south we no longer have primates as pets. At least I don't think we do anymore. I think they've all been shipped out. But in that case, that's not what our intent is for this bill.
Thank you. We have two more questions. The first is from Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for bringing the bill and the presentation. Just want some clarification. There's been a lot of discussion about specifics on how long the training is, who gets trained, how much training. Isn't the intent of the bill to have the counties or the cities address those kind of details?
Melissa Hardy for the record. Yes, as it is written here, that's the intent. So we're not trying to make this burdensome on any county or municipality in any way. Again, so that's why it's not prescriptive. But yes, that is the intent.
And the last question is from Assemblymember Karras.
Thank you, Chair. That was very good, Assemblymember DeLong. But I'm going to bring us back around because I need a little more clarification, because I think I misinterpreted Section 2, subsection 1. Is this bill only for the owners of a business of this type, or is it for also the employees? Because I read it that the owner needs to have it, but then I went with without limitation, a breeder, a cattery, a retailer, and I stuck on a pet groomer, so that if you had a pet grooming establishment, those people that handle pets all the time, daily, are they not receiving it because the owner would have it and you're establishing only one person per site would need to have the license?
Brian Hibbets for the record. Actually, in my interpretation, and legal may have a different interpretation of this, because lawyers usually do, it says owner-operator. I'm sorry, I got owner or operator. So if I'm an owner, again, if I'm an owner and I own 4 different groomers, I obviously cannot be at all 4, but I'm also not operating all 4 of them. Someone else is operating my business for me. So the intent is, again, that someone, at a bare minimum, someone on site has this training. And again, if legal says I'm completely wrong, we can have them redraft this.
Thank you, Chair. Sarah Delap, Committee Counsel. The way I'm reading the bill is that the only people who are required to have the training are going to be the owner or operator of the business. And the language that you were talking about specifically, Assemblymember Karras, that is saying like an establishment engaged in the business of handling animals, including without limitation a breeder, a cattery, and so on. Those are the types of businesses, at least the way that I'm reading it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that presentation. We'd like to move to testimony right now. Again, testimony can be provided in person in Carson City via video conference in Las Vegas or over the phone, and further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. We will begin with testimony in support here in Carson City. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in support of AB 418? Seeing no one. Is there anyone in Las Vegas who wishes to testify in support?
This is Janine Jensen. I would like to testify.
Go ahead, you have up to 2 minutes.
All righty. I think that I'm a nurse, I'm retired, and every year I had to take courses to qualify for my renewal of my license. I feel that anyone that can handle an animal in a grooming business should be certified, and if they quit that business and go to another business, they still are certified for a year. Animals should be treated almost like humans. They are special animals, and this is what I feel. They need to be certified. Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no one else in Las Vegas, AVH, we will go to the phones for testimony in support of AB 418.
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 418, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in support.
Thank you. Do we have anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to AB 418? Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Michael Alonso, and here on behalf of No's Animal House Foundation, in very reluctant opposition. No's Animal House Foundation is a 501c3. As some of you probably know, it shelters the pets of domestic violence victims in Las Vegas and in Reno. And the concerns we have are, we're not opposed to the training, and I spoke to the sponsors about this and appreciate them bringing the bill and the conversation that we had. It's just more along the lines of some of the questions, I think, from the members. We're in City of Las Vegas, City of Reno. Licensing is different in the City of Las Vegas than it is in the City of Reno. And just really more the concern, kind of what we were thinking is maybe it should be more prescriptive on what type of training it should be, so that there's not different training in Las Vegas and different training in Reno, and how the enforcement works in Las Vegas and how the enforcement works in Reno. Are there fees charged? What are those fees? I mean, sort of those things that just Noah's Animal House, provides everything. It provides food, veterinary care. It does all of those things and provides a place for the victims to come. And training is occurring because it's a really important thing and it's a sensitive thing. And so that was just a concern: is it best practices? Are they inconsistent? The trainings between one jurisdiction and the other. So support the training, and if there's some way to work this to make it work, or an exemption for, because Noah's Animal House doesn't fit into the exemptions that are in the bill currently. So something we're talking to the sponsors about and happy to keep working with them on.
Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to 418? Not seeing anyone. Not seeing anyone else in Las Vegas approaching the table. AVH, is there anyone on the line in opposition to 418?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 418, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good, beautiful morning to you, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee. This is Dora Martinez, and I have a service dog, and I do oppose this bill, and I appreciate Assemblymember Harris for her concern. I wish that it would require to have a video, because if my service dog goes to a grooming place and comes out and it's limping or something's happening with him, I can't go anywhere because he's my eyes. And so I would really looking forward to see if we could talk to the sponsor of the bill to make sure that the groomers or what this bill is talking about, they are held accountable. Because if they do provide a video, not that I will see because I'm blind, but Gemini will describe that for me nowadays. It will be an incentive for the business to do good by the pets, and I wouldn't mind paying extra $10, $20 to have a video take, because my dog is important to me. He is my eyes. Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City? If you would like to testify in neutral on this bill, please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning again, Chair Considine, members of the Government Affairs Committee, Joanna Jacob on behalf of Clark County, it's JACOB for the record. And we are neutral because we did the ordinance, and we think that our ordinance does fit the parameters of this bill. Right now, obviously, there's been amendments discussed. So we will continue to work with the bill sponsors because they worked with us. And just to follow up on a few questions and on the subject today, our ordinance does require the staff at every facility to also take the training. So we think that the language that says we can prescribe the form of the training would cover that, so we wouldn't have to change our ordinance. This is why I'm neutral. So I think this is one of the things that is giving the localities the flexibility is probably the right way to go here. But we'll continue to work on this with the bill sponsors, and we are neutral today. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else neutral on Assembly Bill 418 that wants to testify in Carson City? Seeing no one, and seeing no one else approaching in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line in neutral for 418?
The public line is open and working. We have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. Would the presenters like to make any final comments?
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick thank you for allowing us to present this bill, and thank you for your thoughtful questions. We do appreciate it, because obviously we don't think of everything. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to have hearings. We are working with Mr. Alonso on his concerns, so I don't want anybody to be surprised when you see an amendment for those concerns, and we are open to working with any of the committee members. If you have concerns and would like to see amendments, we're happy to discuss it. And do you have anything you'd like to say? Thank you.
Melissa Hardy for the record. Yes, I too just want to thank you for hearing this bill and for your questions and suggestions. I think one thing we can all agree on is that we want our animals to be safe and to be cared for when they're out of our presence. And so there's been some great suggestions here, and as Assemblyman Hibbett said, we would work with anyone that would like to get this just right, so that the situation that Ms. Jensen faced and went through can be hopefully prevented in the future, and that their little dog Daisy, her passing will bring about legislation that protects other animals. And we would like to call this Daisy's Law, and in remembrance of her. And so we look forward to working with all of you in hopes of passing this legislation. Thank you.
Brian Hibbs, for the record, I apologize. I just wanted to put on the record our appreciation for Ms. Jacob and Clark County and their assistance in draft coming up with this.
Okay, thank you. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 418, and we will move to public comment. Public comment is not an opportunity to rehear testimony on a bill, and we ask that you please keep your public comment to topics within the jurisdiction of this committee. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit written public comment up to 24 hours after the meeting. Instructions for providing public comment can be found on the agenda. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 893-9156-3031, and then press pound when prompted for a participant ID. Each person will have up to 2 minutes to provide testimony. You may also submit written public comment to the committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide public comment? Seeing no one and seeing no one in Las Vegas approach for public comment. AVH, is there anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no callers at this time.
Thank you. Our next meeting will be Friday, March 28th at 8 a.m. in room 3143. That concludes our meeting today. The meeting is adjourned.